Hi students, I welcome you all for control system lectures. In the previous class we have discussed what is second order system and we have derived the expression for second order system, and we also come across the topic of damping ratio and natural frequency. For different set of damping ratio, how the system is performing, we have discussed the topic of damping ratio, right? We also gave the standard inputs to the second order system and derived the expression for different inputs for the second order system, right? In this class we are going to discuss what is time domain specification, right? As we mentioned, the chapter deals with the time domain analysis. So whatever the system response we are getting, those are that system responses are analyzed using time domain specifications, right? We'll get into the topic. So as you can see that second order equation, second order Laplace equation, and we have derived the poles of the equation, that is the characteristic equation. The denominator factor we have equated to 0 to find the roots of the equation, right? So if you remember the previous class, we have derived this expression which you can see here down. We have derived this, and these are actually called as the roots. So if you are considering a second order equation, the roots are nothing but the poles of the equation, right? So in the first case, if the system is over damped, that means the zeta value should be greater than 1. If you substitute the zeta value in the poles, if it is greater than 1, any value if you substitute greater than 1, whatever the pole values you are getting are real and distinct, right? That means if you are drawing a S plane, this is called S plane, and if you are drawing an S plane which is having a real axis and imaginary axis, and if you point out the pole value, the value of poles, so if the zeta value is selected greater than 1, right, you will get the poles which are real and distinct, right? You can see I have marked the poles with a red mark here. Two poles I have mentioned, minus A and minus B, which are, this axis is called real axis and this is imaginary. I have placed the poles in the real axis, right? Remember, this is for over damped system, that is zeta greater than 1, right? So if the zeta value is lying in between 0 and 1, and we have derived this expression as well, right? For this kind of systems, whatever the roots you are getting, the poles are roots, one and the same, right? Whatever the poles you are getting, those poles are complex conjugates, right? You can substitute any value in between 0 and 1. So once you plot the second order equation, second order plant, the poles are actually complex conjugate. See, if you mark the poles in this complex plane or S plane, you will get the poles in this way, right? Then coming to the next topic, that is underdamped system. When the system poles are like, when the zeta value is equal to 0, right? Substitute zeta is equal to 0 in this characteristic equation, then the poles whatever you are getting will lie on the origin, like complex poles on the origin. So this is imaginary axis, imaginary axis. So the poles will be on the axis, and which actually tells the output, like we'll discuss about this pole location, then we'll discuss how the when the poles are placed in this way, how the system will respond when you give certain input to the system, right? We'll see it in the next slide actually. So when the system is critically damped, as we know the four cases: overdamped, underdamped, undamped and critically damped, that means the zeta value is equal to 1. When the zeta value, we can substitute the zeta value is equal to 1 in this, so whatever you are getting will be the real, right, real poles. Two real poles which are uh, actually located here, you can see here on the S plane. So these are the pole locations when you apply the different zeta values for the second order system, right? So the derivation which we have carried out in the last class is for step and impulse. When you are giving a step input to the second order system, how the system responds, how the system will respond based on the zeta value, right? So in those cases, as we if you can recollect it, we have discussed this case when the zeta is in between 0 and 1 and the omega natural frequency is greater than 1. So what you get is this kind of response. So time domain specifications are something which gives the characteristic of output. Like when the dynamics are varying, if the system output is varying, how the system, whether it is stable, whether it is unstable, or whether it is working within your limits, like if it is deviating, how far it is deviating. So system time domain specifications will tell you how the system output will vary with respect to the change in input, right? For the step input, this response is for the step input. When you are giving step input to the second order plant, so when you are taking the zeta value in between 0 and 1, you will get this kind of response, right? This kind of response. And the specifications which you have to take into consideration are delay time, raise time, peak time, maximum overshoot, and settling time, right? This will give the system performance, how far the system is better, like how good your response is. Like by calculating these things, you will understand whether it is working under your control or not. Okay. Then if you can see here, the response of delay time, it is actually the 0.5. If you see delay time here, TD, it is actually the response of output which it reaches the 50% of actual value. If the set point or the desired value, whatever you are specifying, is say 1, when it is coming to the 0.5, or it is a 50% of the actual output. So that is referred as delay time, right? Raise time is the time taken for the process to reach its 90%. When the process starts at 10% to 90% of its output, then the time taken for the response to reach that particular gain or amplitude, the time is specified as a raise time. Okay. Then peak time is the time taken for the process output to reach its maximum overshoot. If you can observe in this plot, there is an overshoot in the plant which is referred as MP, right? Your desired output, you are expecting your system to run at 1, but it is actually deviating from 1 and going beyond 1, and this is called overshoot. System is overshooting, right? When the system is overshooting, what is the time taken for the system to reach that particular overshoot point, first overshoot, right? Then that time instant, that time taken for that is referred as peak time, right? So as we discussed about maximum peak overshoot is the overshoot which it is a difference of actual value or actual expected value and actual value. Sorry, expected value is 1 and actual value, yeah, expected and actual value, it is a difference of expected and actual. See, if your expectation is the plant should reach 1, but it actually have little overshoot, the point of this overshoot, the gain which it reached the maximum point, and the actual value is 1, right? This difference, if you can see the difference there, so that difference is called maximum overshoot. And settling time is something the 2 to 5% of actual value. When the system is oscillating or it is reaching your desired level and it is having the offset of 2 to 5%, which is acceptable offset, right? Settling time is a time taken for the process to reach the band of 2 to 5% of actual output, right? You just remember these things in terms of plots. And once we have to derive the mathematical expression for all these terminologies. Like we need to derive the expression for dead time, raise time, peak time, maximum peak overshoot, and settling time, so that we can control the process, control these parameters by manipulating some changes. That is actually compensator. So we will discuss about it, but you have to remember all these terminologies, and we'll start deriving these terms. And we'll understand how it actually varies when the system input varying or when zeta value is varying, right? So we'll start deriving. let us derive time domain specifications for the second order system. As we discussed, the different time domain specifications of second order system are delay time, race time, peak time, maximum peak overshoot, settling time. Right? In the previous class, we have derived how the second order system output varies based on the zeta value, right? So based on zeta value, if the zeta is equal to 0, then we get this kind of oscillations that is actually termed as undamped system. And if you have a response like smooth transient and it gets steady state, and this response is called a critical damped system response. And if the damping is greater than 1, there will be offset from the desired value. Suppose this is 1, and if you can see here, zeta value is greater than 1 for any set of zeta value. If you are keep on increasing the zeta value, this offset will increase, right, for higher zeta values. So the reason of selecting the zeta in between 0 and 1, for that plot we are going to determine derive different time domain specifications. The reason why we are going for this is, if you observe under undamped system, it is oscillatory towards through the time scale, right? So if the response is like this, the settling time, as we mentioned, the settling time is the 2 to 5% of allowed tolerance. That is the band. This can be oscillatory, but it should be oscillatory in between 2 to 5 percentage of the desired value. Right? If suppose 1 is the desired response you are expecting, 2% of 1, that is 0.98, and plus or minus 2, you can your response can vary in between 1.02 to 0.98. If it is 2%, if it is 5%, 1.05 to 0.95, right? 0.95 to 1.05, it can vary. So this parameter settling time, we can't get that parameter if you are going with undamped system, because these oscillations could be more than that, right? More than allowable tolerance response. Similarly, if you consider critical damped system, there won't be any overshoot in the system. Therefore, calculating TP, that is peak time, and maximum peak overshoot. Actually, peak time is the point where it is a time where maximum peak overshoot occurs. Right? If you are considering the critical damped system, there is no overshoot. Therefore, the peak time is actually a steady state value, right? So that is the problem where we can't find overshoot and peak time if you are considering critical damper system. Similarly, if you are considering over damper system, there will be offset. If you are going high for higher zeta values, there will be more offset, right? If zeta value is much higher than 1, then you will get more offset, and you can't find rise time, peak time, maximum peak overshoot, and settling time if you are considering over damped system. So for that reason, we are considering this under damped system, right? Under damped system where zeta value lies in between 0 and 1, so that you can calculate all these time domain specifications. So that is the reason we are selecting under damped system, right? Okay, then we'll start deriving. One by one we'll go. Initially we'll start with rise time here, right? As we derived the second order response for the step input, right? Second order response for the step input, when you are giving zeta value in between 0 and 1, that is for under damped system, the C of t, C of t is given as 1 minus e power minus zeta omega t, omega en, because the natural frequency, divided by root of 1 minus zeta square sine omega d t plus 5. Right. So this is the system output for when you are giving a step input to the second order process. When the step input second order process for second order system, for zeta value between 0 and 1, right? When you are giving step input to the system, this is the response, this is the output derivation we got for step input. So consider this, right? Now actually this if you take this equation, we'll make this equation as 1, phi, where phi is equal to tan inverse of root of 1 minus zeta square by zeta, right? And what is this? WD, right? Damping frequency, WD. This derivation we have done in the last class. You can refer last lecture for this derivation, right? I am directly writing the equations for derivation. You can see that video, previous video, right? So this is the terms we have to substitute here, omega d and phi. So if you see this tan inverse of root of 1 minus zeta square by zeta, consider a right angle triangle, right, with the angle of phi, right? B by A. What is B by A? B is opposite side by adjacent, that is 1 by 1 minus phi square here phi. So remember, this right angle triangle will be using this approach, this method in the future derivations. In the future part of the derivation, we will be using this right angle triangle. Just remember this. So, and one more point I want to tell here is we are trying to calculate TR, right? Rise time. Rise time. When you are plotting this response, what is the rise time? Rise time is actually, if you are considering undamped system or overdamped system or critical damped system, the rise time is 0 to 100%. That means actually the time taken for the response to reach its desired value. If you are considering undamped, overdamped and critically damped. Since we are considering underdamped system here, so for underdamped system, the rise time we have to take here is actually the actual desired value 1. Right? Time taken for the system to reach the desired value for the first time, TR, right? So here if you observe what is the TR, then here if you observe the first equation is C of t, that is the final expression, the time when the system response reaches the actual time t, right? Now what we want is TR. So in this expression, if you are trying to calculate for TR, you have to substitute T is equal to TR. T is equal to TR, right? C of TR. C of TR, what is the value of C of TR? The time at TR, what is the value you are getting is 1. That is equal to 1 actually, right? That is the final value. So at T is equal to TR, C of T is equal to C of TR actually, right? And we know C of TR is equal to 1. Now what we should do, we should equate that expression is equal to 1. Equation 1, we have to equate it to 1, right? We'll do it here. So C of TR is equal to 1 minus e power zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square sin omega d tr plus phi, because t is equal to tr, right? We know c of tr is equal to 1. So substitute 1 here, and we have one more 1 on the right side as well. So left side 1 and right side 1 will get cancelled out, and what happens is e power minus zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square sin omega d tr plus phi is equal to 0, isn't it? So what we are doing, we are equating the first expression. 1 we are substituting here, 1 and 1 will get cancelled out, right side 1 and left side 1 will get cancelled out, and leftover term is this one. As we know, the exponential term cannot be equated to 0. If you have any exponential term, if you substitute exponential any value of omega n or zeta value, exponential term can't become 0, right? So that what we have to do in this product, I'll make this equation as 2. This product we can't make it as 0. So e power minus zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square can't be 0. Therefore, the leftover term is sine of omega dtr plus phi. This can be equated to 0. The reason is exponential term, whatever the values you substitute in exponential term, it won't become 0, right? You can substitute any values there, it can't become 0. Right now, what happens is, so we know the sine of something here, right? This one, sine of a is equal to 0. At what time sine, at what values of a, the sine function will become 0? Usually sine will become 0 if it is having pi or 2 pi or 3 pi, so on till n pi, right? For the values of pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, so on n pi, the sine function will become 0, right? So what we'll do, w omega d tr plus phi is equal to n pi, because you substitute any values of n here, this function will become 0. Okay, now since we are like we'll substitute n equal to 1. For n equal to 1, what we get is omega d tr plus phi is equal to pi, right? Tr is equal to pi minus phi divided by omega d. If you observe the expression derivation we did for omega d, damping frequency omega d in the previous class, if you remember, tr would be equated to 1 pi minus phi divided by omega n root of 1 minus phi square. So this is the expression for rise time, right? Remember this expression. In exam they may ask you to derive this, or they may ask question numericals on this, right? So this is how we derive rise time. Now what we'll do, actually if you see here phi, what is phi? We'll go there and observe what is phi here. See, yeah, see, phi is tan inverse of 1 by zeta square by zeta. It is nothing but phi, right? We'll substitute phi in tr. Actually we can left it as it is, but since we are actually calculating for tr in terms of tan, I mean omega zeta value, so substitute phi in terms of zeta. Therefore, what happens? TR will be equal to pi minus tan inverse of root of 1 minus zeta square by zeta whole divided by omega n root of 1 minus zeta square. Right? This is the expression. The final expression you will get it for TR. Right? Now we'll calculate peak time. What is the peak time? From the plot, peak time is time taken for the response to reach maximum overshoot. Peak time. If you have the plot, okay, the first peak is the time taken for the first peak to reach maximum overshoot. This is MP. Right? We have to calculate TP now. Right? So what we are doing, calculations for the same zeta value, that is 0 less than zeta less than 1 under damper system. For under damper system, right? Now actually how we get this TP? The peak value can be calculated by differentiating C of t. Right? With respect to t, if you differentiate d by dt of C of t at t is, at t is equal to Tp, right, equated to 0. See how we are getting this Tp. C of t is nothing but this response, right? This response you can observe, this is nothing but C of t. What we need is only Tp, right? Tp, if you want from the C of t, your C of t should be differentiated because the response deviation from actual value to the maximum peak overshoot, this point alone, if you want, see for any plot, if you take you want some part of the plot, what you need to do is differentiation. If you want this, what you will do, say if this plot is x, you want del x, that is nothing but differentiation of x dx by dt. Look, similarly you want the time for this particular phase, and the whole you want only till Tp. So we'll be taking differentiation of C of t. This is whole C of t. This plot is whole C of t. But what we need to get is the time from 0 to Tp. This alone. So we'll be differentiating this part. So t equal to Tp. If you equate this to 0, whatever the value you get, whatever the expression you get, is nothing but the peak time. Okay, so let us start derivation. D by dt of, we know the C of t expression, we have derived it, 1 minus e power minus zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square, right, sine omega d plus phi. This is the expression for C of t. So what we are trying to do is at t is equal to Tp. So now substitute t equal to Tp in our expression, right? So now we'll derive it. What is the derivation of 1? Like with respect to t, we are derivating. So one derivative of 1 is 0. So this will become 0. If you observe here, we have e power minus zeta omega n t and sine omega dt. So t is a function here and here. So this this whole thing can be derived as uv form, right? U is this. This is u, and this is v, right? So what we get? U dash v plus uv dash, right? Derivation, right? Derivative, uv derivative, right? Okay, we'll directly do the expression. That is equal to e power. So minus we have e power minus zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square into u dash v. Like see, u v dash, u as it is, and v dash sine omega dt. So this will be derivative of sine theta is cos theta, cos of omega dt plus phi, and we have omega d as well, right? So multiplied by omega d. Okay, then u dash v, right, minus now actually minus is there, so now this derivative is over. Now we have to do this derivative minus e power derivative of x, e power x is e power x into x, right? So what we get here, sine omega, I'll rewrite it, sine omega d t plus phi. This is v, and 1 minute, sine omega t, and what is the derivation of that above term? Minus zeta omega n divided by root of 1 minus zeta square, right? So exponential derivative, I am keeping see, exponential derivative is there, e power x, e power xt, e power x into x, e power xt is e power xt into x, right? Just correlate it with e power x into, okay, just move the slide little bit towards right, but I'll get space here, e power minus omega n tp actually, right? Everywhere I'll substitute the tp because we are going with t equal to tp, right? T equal to tp, everywhere you substitute that. And if you observe here, this expression e power this expression is having exponential e power minus omega n t, and here also we have e power minus omega n tp, right? Here I missed zeta actually, zeta also is there, right? So we'll take common of these two, that is equal to minus e power minus zeta omega n tp divided by root of 1 minus zeta square. Keep it outside. So what we'll do, we'll take here like you can multiply this negative sign on the whole expression. So what we get is minus cos omega t tp plus phi into omega n root of 1 minus zeta square plus sine, this time sending this side, right? Outside actually, sine omega d tp plus phi. There is no space here, I will just take some space, phi omega n, right? This whole thing is equal to 0, right? Just compare the expression from above expression, right? Omega d actually damping frequency. I'm substituting omega n is equal to omega d is equal to omega n plus 1 minus zeta square. Okay. Now we'll keep omega n also outside because we have omega n here also, we have omega n here also. right? We can take this omega n also outside. That is equal to minus omega n e power minus zeta omega n tp divided by root of 1 minus zeta square of zeta sine, this term I am writing here now, sine omega d tp plus phi minus root of 1 minus zeta square cos omega d tp plus phi is equal to 0. So here also what we have is two terms, one is this and other one is this b, and this one I'll take it as a. So here if you observe, as we mentioned in the previous derivation also, exponential term can't be equated to 0. So we have to equate this whole term to 0, right? Now we'll do this, we'll equate this term b to 0. Therefore zeta sine omega d tp plus phi minus root of 1 minus zeta square cos of omega d tp plus phi is equal to 0. This will take it as a expression a. Okay. From as I mentioned in the first derivation, we have a right angle triangle, right? This is phi, root of 1 minus zeta square, this is zeta, this is 1. From where we got this? Tan inverse of root of 1 minus zeta square by zeta. For tan function we got this right angle triangle, and we'll be making use of this function here. If you observe, we have 1 minus zeta square here, and we have zeta also. So this zeta, from this right angle triangle, I can make this zeta is equal to cos phi, right? Because cos is adjacent side by hypotenuse, right? Phi by 1, that is phi. Also sine function is opposite side by hypotenuse, that is sine phi is equal to root of 1 minus zeta square. So substitute this sine phi and cos phi in the above expression a. Substitute phi and 1 minus phi square as sine function, sine and cos functions, cos phi in a. What we get? Cos phi sine, same thing, sine omega d tp plus phi minus sine phi minus, sorry, now phi is becoming 0, phi minus sine phi cos omega d tp plus phi, that is equal to 0. See this function, if you observe, cos a sin b minus sin a cos b. Just observe this, cos a sin b minus sin a cos b. This can be written as sin a minus b omega d tp plus phi minus phi is equal to 0, right? So phi and phi get cancelled out here. So what we get is sin omega d tp is equal to 0. So when this sine function will become 0, as we showed in the previous case, sine will get to 0 when we have a pi, function of pi. So that omega d dp is equal to, it can be 0 or pi or 2 pi or so on n pi. For any values of pi, sine will become 0. Right? For n is equal to 1, what happens when n equal to 1, omega d dp is equal to pi. What we need is tp, that is equal to pi by omega d. Right? So what is omega d actually? Omega d is equal to pi by omega n root of 1 minus zeta square. This is tp. Okay, what we got here is peak time. Peak time, right? Now next thing is maximum peak overshoot. Third expression is maximum peak overshoot. Right? What is the maximum peak overshoot from the plot? At Tp, whatever the value you are getting in a gain, this is nothing but NP. The deviation from actual value to the obtained, actual measured value and true value. Expected is 1, but it is going beyond 1 and reaching somewhere at 1.5 or whatever. So this difference is actually maximum peak overshoot. At what time we are getting this maximum peak overshoot? At TP, right? So there is a relationship of peak overshoot and peak time. Since we calculated peak time, we can make use of this peak time to calculate maximum peak overshoot. How to do that, and we'll see now. Okay. Now what is C of t? C of t is common for all derivation. E power minus zeta omega n t divided by root of 1 minus zeta square sine of omega d t plus phi. Right? If you observe the plot, what is the right at t? If you are keep on going in the time scale, at t is equal to infinity. That means at the end of the time, end of the response, till wherever you want to calculate, till that time, if you observe this plot will gradually comes down and it will become the expected value, that is 1. So at t is equal to infinity means somewhere at the end. So at that point, C of t is equal to 1 actually. Right? At t equal to infinity, C of t is equal to C of infinity, that is equal to 1. Why? Because at this plot actually this oscillations gradually comes down and become 1. It will reach the desired value. So when you are calculating somewhere at the infinity, C of t is equal to 1. At Tp, now what we wanted is the plot at Tp. Right? At t is equal to Tp, because maximum peak overshoot is calculated at Tp. That is C of t is equal to same thing. See this expression, if you are substituting t equal to Tp, that is how we calculate peak overshoot. I mean value at C of t at that particular Tp. That is 1 minus e power minus zeta omega n t root of 1 minus zeta square sine omega d. I don't have space here, I'll just create some space. I'll take some space. T plus phi. Right. Now maximum peak overshoot is C of Tp minus C of infinity divided by C of infinity. So maximum peak overshoot is calculated this way. It is the difference of c of t, the value of c of t, that amplitude at Tp, minus the amplitude at c of infinity, that is 1, divided by c of infinity. Okay, now we know what is c of Tp and c of infinity. Just substitute that. Substitute the expressions of c of Tp and c of infinity. So this is equal to 1 minus e power minus zeta omega n Tp, right, divided by root of 1 minus zeta square sine omega d Tp plus phi minus 1. This is actually Tp. This whole thing is Tp. This whole thing is Tp, and this is c of infinity is 1 divided by 1. So what we get, 1 1 will get cancelled out here. In the numerator you can see 1 minus is there, right? So 1 and 1 will get cancelled out. What we get is mp is equal to, maximum peak overshoot is equal to, minus whatever the leftover term we can write it, minus e power zeta omega n Tp divided by root of 1 minus zeta square, right, sine of omega d Tp plus phi. Right, now what we have is Tp. So in the previous expression, when we are calculating Tp, right, we have calculated Tp, right? What we got? Tp is equal to pi by omega d. Just check the previous expressions where we got peak time as pi by omega d. That is equal to where omega d is damping frequency, that is omega n root of 1 minus zeta square, right? What I'll do, I'll substitute from that right angle triangle again. Just remember that right angle triangle, root of 1 minus zeta square by zeta 1 here. Mp is equal to minus zeta e power zeta, write it, minus e power minus zeta omega. I think it's actually minus is there here also. Right? Minus zeta omega n Tp. We will substitute Tp. Tp is equal to omega, pi by omega d. Substitute Tp here. Tp we can substitute as pi by omega d, right, divided by root of 1 minus zeta square into sine omega d is, right, omega d, substitute as omega d and substitute omega d as omega n root of 1 minus zeta square. Okay, pi plus, we can actually substitute omega n and cancel out, or else actually from this Tp, if you observe, what is this omega d Tp? If I send omega d into Tp, that is equal to pi, right? So I can make it that way. Okay, either you can substitute this and solve for mp, or else you can just send it this there and calculate omega d Tp is equal to pi, right? Now what is sine pi plus sine pi plus theta is equal to minus sine theta, actually, right? You should know the trigonometry formulas also. we can write pi plus theta as minus sin theta. So just substitute minus sin theta. Also, once you substitute minus sin theta, wait just a minute, it's not going up. Yeah. Okay. So just substitute sin pi plus phi is equal to minus sin phi. Just remember this. Also, if you observe here 1 minus 1 minus theta square sin phi is equal to root of 1 minus theta square. Sin phi is equal to 1 minus from right angle triangle. This is from right angle triangle, okay? From right angle triangle, sin phi is equal to 1 minus phi square by 1 actually, but we'll take root of 1 minus phi square. So here this term will become sin phi. So sin phi and minus sin phi, here actually minus sin phi will come, this is minus sin phi, this and this will get cancelled out and minus term will be there. Since it is minus sin phi, minus will be there. So therefore maximum peak overshoot is equal to e power minus theta omega n phi by omega d, right? So what we'll do, we'll substitute omega d. What is omega d? E power minus psi omega n pi divided by root of omega n root of 1 minus theta square. So here actually omega n is there, here omega n is there, that is equal to e power minus theta. Omega n will get cancelled out, right? So what we get is only pi by root of 1 minus theta square. This is nothing but maximum peak overshoot. Okay, this is how we calculate maximum peak overshoot. Then we'll derive expression for settling time. Okay, I'll do one thing, I'll just save this plot. Okay, anyway I'll continue now. Later I'll save. Settling time TS. What is the settling time from the plot? It is somewhere is TP and this is 1. It is a tolerance band, 2 to 5% of tolerance band of actual final value. Tolerance of final value. So when you take the tolerance band of 5%, this is nothing but TP. So that means when the plot reaches, once it overshoots and reaches, if suppose this is 1, if you are taking 2%, it should be 1.0 to 2.98. So this output should be within this band if it is 2%. If it is 5%, 1.05 to 0.95. If 0.95. Okay, so this is how the settling time we get from plot. So if you observe actually the this C of t, that is the expression for underdamped system, C of t, what we have in C of t, there are two terms, right? That is equal to 1 minus Just a minute. Okay, fine. It's 0.95. 0.95. That is getting lagging is there. Little lag is there in Microsoft Windows. Okay. So if we'll just write down C of t is equal to 1 minus e power minus zeta omega n t root of 1 minus zeta square and into sine omega d t plus phi. Right, this is the expression, and if you observe this expression, what are the terms here? Exponentially, this is exponentially decay function, exponential decay function, and this is sinusoidal function, right? Sinusoidal. Exponential decay. And this is sinusoidal. Since the decaying exponential term is there, decaying exponential term reduces the oscillations actually. So what happens in the plot which you observe here on the top? So there are oscillations in the initial phase, right? So Tp till it reaches, sorry, this is Ts actually, settling time. So till this plot reaches Ts, it will be oscillatory. So this function e power minus zeta omega n practically try to reduce the oscillations, right, produced by sinusoidal function. This sinusoidal function actually produces these oscillations, and this function tries to reduce the oscillations. Hence, the settling time is decided by what? Exponential decaying function. Because based on this exponential decaying function, if suppose you have a plot, we don't know at what time it will reduce and go to 1 settling time within the band. We don't know where this 2 to 5% band will come. We don't know where this 2 to 5 percentage band will occur actually. Whether it is the TS1, TS1, or this is the TS2, where exactly it will come. This settling time is a function of exponential decaying function, this function. Right? From the definition, settling time is 2 to 5% of the amplitude that can be that is decaying sinusoidal to reach 2 to 5% of the final value. Final value, say 1. If the oscillations are decaying and coming to this band, then the time calculated at that particular instant, right? So that is referred as settling time. So we have to take this function actually, because this is helping settling time. This is actually conveying the settling time. So what we'll do, we'll take that function exponential zeta omega n ts divided by root of 1 minus zeta square, that is equal to 0.02. Why 0.02? Because we are considering 2% band of 2%. So what happens? Minus zeta omega n ts settling time is equal to 0.02 into root of 1 minus zeta square. So exponential term I am sending actually this side. What I'll do, I'll send this exponential term on right side. It will become logarithm, right? Log of 0.02 and denominator term will go on the right side. So this is how it will come. And TS you need to calculate, right? TS actually settling time is logarithm of 0.02 root of 1 minus zeta square Zeta square divided by minus, actually, because this right side minus is the left side minus is there, no, I'm sending on left side, right, zeta omega n. So this I'll take it as a, right. So at what value, if you observe, if you substitute zeta value, zeta is actually for underdamped, it is varying from 0 to 1, right? So 0 to 1, you substitute some random values in between 0 and 1. Or else initially you start with the 0.1 and till 0.9, you can substitute different values of zeta. And the minimum and maximum values of ts you get, it is numerator actually. Logarithm, this term is there, no? This numerator term, minimum and maximum values you may get it is 3.91 to 4.74. So it is around 4 actually. So average value, it's approximately 4. Any set of values in between 0 and 1, if you are substituting in this expression, what you get is 4. Ts equal to minus ln of 0.02. Like suppose if you substitute lesser value, I mean if your zeta value is if zeta is much lesser than 1, right. So zeta, if you are substituting zeta as say 1, or else if zeta is equal to, like, or else your nearest value of zeta, you take it from 0.1 to 0.9, right. You substitute the 0.1, approximately it will be 0, so root of 1 is 1, and 0.01 divided by whatever the value you are substituting, the same value you can substitute here. Else we make this value omega n. So what is the logarithm of 0.02? You can just do it in calculator. It will be around 4 actually. 4 divided by zeta omega n. So this is actually approximated value. Approximately it is 4. So what is this 1 by zeta omega n is equal to time constant tau. For second order process, 1 by zeta omega n is referred as a time constant. Time constant, right? So Ts is 4 times the time constant. As we discussed, the time constant is a time takes for the process to reach the maximum of the final value, right? So Ts is equal to 4 time constant. 4 times the time constant means, if you are taking the plot, the settling time for 2% is, suppose if this is the time constant, if you are taking tau, it will take 4 tau. This is 2 tau, 3 tau, and 4 tau. So settling time will come somewhere here, right? Usually time constant is the time taken for the process to reach maximum value of, if suppose this is 1, the time taken for the process to reach 1 rise time, or time constant, right? Nearest value of rise time is a time constant. If your process if your process rise time is 1 tau, then 4 times the tau is your settling time. This is when you take a 2% band, 2% tolerance. What if you take 5% tolerance? You can just calculate, substitute same thing, instead of 0.02 here, instead of 0.02, you can substitute a 0.05, right? There is a lag in whiteboard. Is equal to minus logarithm of 0.05 divided by zeta omega n. If you calculate this, that means if the band you are increasing, if you are taking a tolerance of 5 percentage, 2 percentages it may take more time to settle. If you are taking 5 percentage, it may come before only, right? So if you calculate this, it may be approximately 3. So what you get is 3 by zeta omega n is equal to 3 tau. So your settling time will be at 3 tau. If you are considering two tolerance, 2 percentage of tolerance band, it is 4 tau. If you are considering 5 percentage, it is actually 3 tau for 5. So in general, actually time settling time is equal to logarithm ln of percentage error by zeta omega n. See, in few processes, few systems, it may not go to actual desired value. It may be oscillatory throughout the process. Like you may get the response like this, keep on reducing, but it won't be zero. But the thing is, maximum allowable oscillations band would have reached. So that you have to take it as error. Error is actually, this is one. Suppose at some point, if you suppose this is the point you are taking, the error is the difference between, so this is 1.2, error is the difference between peak point and actual value. You can take any error in between, any point, any time you can take error here. Suppose at this point tk, if you are taking error at that particular instant, whatever the percentage you are calculating, so this is actually band. Error is nothing but the band, the difference of actual value and obtained value. Expected minus true. That is equal to error. Right? So you can take that error percentage, substitute to calculate the settling time. So that is how we can calculate the settling time. At this point of time, we'll stop the revision. And one more point I want to convey is actually the plot. Don't think I will go to just go to top. I want to see the plot actually. Yeah, it's loading. Yeah, here. What we say this TD actually? TD we discussed, right? TD is the delay time. If you are calculating this as same as the process, you can consider T is equal to TD here. TD is a 50 percentage of actual value. That means instead of C of TD is equal to 0.5 of C of T, right? Because we had 50 percentage wherever the plot you are reaching. Here what we do, if you are calculating the TR, if you are calculating TR, I just do zoom in. Yeah. See, if you are calculating TR rise time, what we took is C of T is equal to 1, right? C of T is equal to 1 because the C of T is the amplitude of the output at the point where it reaches 1. Similarly, if you want to calculate TD, C of T is equal to 0.5 and you just follow the same procedure, you will get that delay time. Right? And one more point I want to tell is that decay actually. If you have too many oscillations in the process, the decay ratio, this decay ratio tells the process the ratio of the second peak to the first peak. Right? Second peak to the first peak. Usually the system is said to be in control or under control if you have a quarter decay ratio, 1/4. Quarter to decay ratio. That means if you have maximum amplitude, if you have this, say if this value is 1.4, this should be 1.1. Right? So 4 times this value decay should be 4 times the actual maximum peak overshoot value. So that's how we derive the expression for settling time, rest time, dead time, delay time, peak overshoot, and settling time. Right? If you observe the plot here, when the zeta value is varying, how the system response is varying, right? For the different values of zeta, right, damping ratio, how the system is responding. So we derive the expression for zeta, and if you can vary that zeta value, this is how the system response is dependent on that. Like if you can observe that blue plot, there is a zeta value that is 0.2, where you can see overshoot and gradually it is coming to 0, right? When the zeta value is coming down, then the system is actually reaching its steady state or desired value. But if you are going, if you are increasing the zeta value more than 1, what happens is it is taking more time for the system to respond actually. So you can observe when the zeta value is 1, it is actually properly settling, there is no overshoot. But when you are increasing the zeta value to 2, there is a lag. That means that the transient is taking more and the settling time is reducing actually, right? So when the zeta value is 5 here, yellow plot, so there is much more time it is taking for the response system to respond actually, right? So this is about the time domain specifications. That's it for the class today. We'll be meeting in the next class. Thank you for your attention.